Ayom. Pranam, pranam. Pranam. Ayom. So, before we take up the 15th chapter, so far we have covered 15th chapter again, no? From 3rd we started. Today we will have a recap. Otherwise we will forget everything. So please come out. Which chapter and what is the point that wells up in our heart? It need not be in the chronological order. Any chapter. Yes, Father Pranam. Yeah. Very good. Then, true way. Quite right. Not merely chanting and dwelling on the attributes. Yes, then. Anybody else? Whatever that happens in our life, we should treat it as happening for our good. Yeah, total submission. Then, huh? Huh?
How government protection do that? God gives protection and guidance actually that we government.
Protection and guidance. Always, in his case, he felt immediately after taking sannyas, he intuitively heard this, that you shall ever be my devotee, I shall take care of you, I shall guide you and protect you always. That he was conscious of throughout. Then, inclusion and expansion. There is nobody who is other. That is called inclusion. Everybody and everything is included. In another way, we can say we have expanded from the me and mine. Then, Self-effacement. Self-effacing, okay. Mm. Constant. Mm. Okay. Mm. Yeah. Ma. Mm. Mm. That is why he undertook this. Good. Mm. Ah. Mm. Mm. All positive. Positive. Mm. 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 Quite right. Quite right. Quite. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Then. Ah. Mm. Correct. Then. Strong belief. Mm. Child. Child. Yes. Then. Mm. Yes. Yeah. Mm. 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 Good. That word we should never forget. That word we should never forget. Mm. Passionless look for of tenderness. That means, love for all at the same time, not attached to anyone, completely detached. Hmm. Then, correct. Hmm. Then, uh,
All religions are equal for him.
ah, okay, okay. Then. Mm. 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 One more important point. Ma. We pray, all of us pray. Mm. இனி விழுந்தா போட்டுருவேன் சரியா? ஆ. ஆ. ம். Good. Mm. First chapter gave us 2-3 things. One is that when Papa felt utterly helpless, he prayed from the bottom of the mind, and that prayer was heard. And he said that the prayer was heard from the great void. And then started the saga. He started meditating and then chanting. Then self-imposed disciplines. At the same time, if the father initiated with Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. He was also constantly going through the works like, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Light of Asia, New Testament, and Gandhiji's books. And then the ground was prepared where there was nothing else excepting the thought of Ram. And second chapter, it's a beautiful dialogue between him and Ram inside. So he knew that Ram intended to. He gave a choice. In that beautifully, Papa makes it clear that the hurdle in spiritual journey is me and mine. So he prays, remove the I-ness from me. This is all that I ask of thee. This is very, very important for all of us. We may be withdrawing ourselves from so many things. We may develop vairagya. All those things are okay. But the central theme is getting ourselves relieved from the me and mine. And then he knew, the prayer also said, that when we know that he will take care of us, why not? Why not he throw us out? Where we have nothing to hold on excepting him. And Lord assures that it will be directly under his supervision. So no intermediary. And in the third chapter, he was induced to adopt the order of Sanyas. And the 3 vows. The first one talks about the indwelling and all-pervading reality, consecrated. Henceforth, the life will be consecrated to the meditation and service of Ram. So that covers everything, nothing else. Second one, to look upon all the women as mothers. And third one, to fully bank upon the alms received. So we spend a lot of time on these 3 vows. Very important, resolves. And the 4th chapter. Rameshwaram, no?
Srirangam. Srirangam.
Srirangam over, no?
Fourth is Srirangam.
Srirangam. There, the first test. Here starts the testing. So the first test was, he was having money, but he has taken the vow. So when he looked at the plate for his, then he knew 1 paisa. 2 paise. 2 paise, and immediately he said, his heart leaped with joy at the sight of these tiny coins.
Joy of deliverance.
Joy of deliverance. Okay. Joy of deliverance.
We elaborately discuss this. Joy of deliverance.
The thrills of the new birth, the new life, with the sweet love of Ram. A peace came upon Ramdas' struggling soul. The turmoil ceased. Ramdas' own hand seemed to have touched the head of his slave. Ram blessed. Oh, tears go on for the mere joy of a deliverance. Sorrow, pain, anxiety, care, all vanished, never to return. All glory to thee, Ram. The great blessing came from Ram. I take thee under my guidance and protection. Remain ever my devotee. Thy name shall be Ramdas. Very important in the 4th chapter. The joy of deliverance. There was no regret at all. And from that day onwards, till he dropped the body, it just stayed. And then even the name, Ram gave him the name Ramdas. Then he went to the Dharmshala. 2 people were doing it, and what they received was a pittance. They really, they were upset. They started grumbling. Immediately, Papa said, no, don't worry. God has sent Ramdas to you for this, and he paid 1 rupee. Then immediately the devotees who were singing, the transformation came. They were also good people, they were also evolved people, but because of certain development, it might, so the Papa gives us the message. If we are sincere enough, if we are honest, when we do it, suppose it affects our basic things, at that time there is a likelihood that we may get confused, or we may feel that our faith is shaken. Immediately God comes and does the repair. And though he paid 1 rupee, he did not touch the rest of the money which he was having. But he saw the 2 pies. With that he brought the banana, satisfied himself. So first test. And in second test, Rameshwaram, the first thing he did was to hand over whatever money he had and make himself free. On making over the money, he suggested to Sadhu Ram to get the rupees changed into 1 anna coins and have them all distributed to the poor. So then he said, Ramdas threw himself more completely than ever on the support of Ram, with only 2 clothes and a few books, in conformity with the vow he has taken. And then in Rameshwaram, only 6 miles. All negative, seemingly apparent negative episodes turn into positive one. The 6 miles episode, which we are not repeating, everybody knows it. And then from there we move to Madurai. About the temple, Papa describes. The temple of Madurai was visited. The temple of Meenakshi is a beautiful pile wherein the sculptor has exhibited all his skill. The life-size symmetrical images cut in stone seem to be stepping out of the broad pillars that support the upper structure of the temple. The shrine is massive in build and can stand the wear and tear of ages. The sight of it is, in brief, a most imposing one. So wherever there is excellence, in Bhagavad Gita, he is, I am there. Wherever there is excellence, I am there. So Papa was trying to experience that. And then everybody is a form of Ram. So when the Sadhu Ram was unknowingly touching his Papa's body with his feet, the other Swami was very much upset, and he said he was about to wake him up. Then Papa said, no, he is also a form of Ram. So there is exactly that word is, he is Ram, he is Ramdasa's Guru, his feet are holy, so no harm anyway. And from there we move to Chidambaram. Before that, each and every place, he doesn't know where to move, where to go. Right from the moment he got down at E Road, when he started this, he was guided by Ram through so many Sadhu Rams. But here in the Madurai, suddenly, the Sadhu Ram who was accompanying, he had to go to some other place. So he told Papa, I will move away. So at that time, he was without any guide. And somehow he reached Chidambaram. And what happened in Chidambaram?
Yes, South Pavilion. Okay.
No, he was not allowed to enter into the compound because the entrance fee 4 annas was not there. So Papa was sitting on a rock and started reading Srimad Bhagavad Gita. At that time, a stout Brahmin came, took him inside, and then what else?
Imagination for making plans for.
He had completely freed himself from planning. The next moment, what we will do, no idea. He was waiting for the instruction from Ram. either from within or from without. His imaginative faculty for making plans and seeking information was totally absent. He depended on all things on Ram, whom he was remembering every moment of his existence. So he was barred, and next day he reached Tirupapaliyur, journeyed to Tirupapaliyur. Then, what happened there? Suddenly Sadhu Ram came forward and offered to guide him. You are Ram. Ramdas follows wherever you take him. Then the two boys were making some comments and how Papa acknowledged it with a positive approach and how it changed their outlook, attitude. That was mentioned here. So no negative feeling. Everything is positive. And he knows that Ram is making him to go through all these things. So he was never upset. And from there to Pondicherry.
Swamiji,
Ah.
appearances are deceptive.
Appearances are deceptive. Where is that?
When these two boys think that
Okay. Yes, that is over now. Then Pondicherry. Here the first one was, Papa was asked to go and seek alms. Another test. So far Sadhu Ram was fetching, But here the Sadhu Ram said, you have to go. Without a second thought, Papa started. It is one of the toughest. Unless the self-effacement is total, it is not possible. We will feel, I will better starve than see, to go and beg. So that was also, God also made him to do that. Spontaneously he said yes, and he made it. Then from there the Sadhu Ram suggested, why not we go for the darshan of Aurobindo. 20 miles they walked, 32 kilometers. Early morning they started, by noon they reached. And finally, when they checked up, they couldn't get the darshan because he was on retirement for 1 year. But at the same time, those areas were ruled by French government. So the police inspector, he said you have to leave in 2 hours' time. Because they had walked 32 kilometers. So they pleaded. Again it was reduced to 1 hour. And the Sadhu Ram thought they will beat. So somehow they got out. And the Sadhu Ram started abusing or whatever you can say. The law. Papa himself says, still he continued, a shower of abuse. But there also Papa said, no amount of persuasion on the part for Ramdas for peace would stop. It was all Ram's wish, so there was no reason to grumble. Again, how many tests now? Just imagine. All these tests Papa passes. Nothing upsets him. He is always viewing it from a different angle, not from the individual level. And then finally, both of them came out of the town, and then after 4 miles they rested. And they came back to Tiruvannamalai. For more than a week they were staying in somebody's house. One day, Sadhuram suggested that they can go and have the darshan of Bhagavan Ramana. And that word, yes, somebody said, but there was on his face a calmness, and in his large eyes a passionless look of tenderness, which cast a spell of peace and joy on all those who came to him. So Papa here, he did not ask anything else, only for thy blessings. And Papa has recorded that an inexplicable feeling of joy, ecstasy, that welled up in his heart when he saw the Bhagavan. His own word, a thrill of inexpressible joy coursed through the frame of Ramdas, his whole body quivering like a leaf in the breeze. O Ram, what a love is thine! Bidding farewell to the Mahatma in the sadhu, he returned to the goldsmith's residence. Then from there what happened?
Into the cave.
Very important. For nearly a month, he was in solitude. One time food, that too only kanji, without any salt or pepper. The undisturbed communion with him. So many messages now he is giving. Right from first, after suppose we start to give, what is it that I have to take? When we go through his life, when we travel with him, again we try to understand we cannot do all those things. What can be done by us? So the first and foremost thing is somehow develop this subservience to a higher power. For that prayer, inward journey, dialogue with him, simple lifestyle, developing a positive attitude in everything. Always reminding that whatever happens, it is for our ultimate good. Never allow the mind to grumble or complain about anything. And also to know that the test will be very severe. And the tests are meant for erasing the me and mine totally from us. Because if we view it from the individual angle, individual level, we have every reason to complain. But Papa says, don't do that. So many tests. We must be alert, otherwise we must slip into it. When the Sadhuram was abusing, showering abuses on the inspector, Papa had written that it might be also a test whether Ramdas also joins. Because technically speaking, the Sadhuram is 100% right, in having that grumbling or complaining. They have not committed any crime. They only went there for the darshan. And without knowing all these things, the police inspector asked them to immediately go out. After walking 32 kilometers, what will be the plight? So he is right. But that was because from the individual's level it was right. But from a higher level, it is God's way, is God's will. And then another message for all of us is that wherever there is a Mahatma, we should go and have his darshan with an open mind, with a receptive mind, not merely seeing. Here when we went and stood before Bhagavan, receptive, no? How do we know it is receptive? Because it is named a face. A calmness was seen on his face, and his eyes, a passionless look of tenderness, which cast a spell on peace and joy on all those who came to him. That is the receptivity. If the receptivity is not there, we will only see an individual sitting there and we will go. We will do pranams and go. But it became receptive to understand all these things. So it is a subtle message for all of us. So whenever we go and stand before a Mahatma, our mind should be totally receptive to receive his grace. And we can put two and two together. So far, Papa has never resorted to solitude. Ever since the kindling came, he never sought any solitude. But after seeing Ramana Bhagavan, somehow he was prompted. He has written, now at the prompting of Ramdas, desiring to remain in solitude for some time, placed the matter before the Sadhu Ram. And that also gives us some clues. With all our busy schedule, we must try to resort to solitude in whatever form. It need not necessarily be in the form in which Papa took, but solitude is a must to evaluate, for self-evaluation, for self-correction, and to continue the dialogue with him, and also to insist or adopt a simplest lifestyle. And from there he moved to Tirupati. Here also we find, though they took all the pains to climb up 700 steps, and they went there for the darshan. But when they were not allowed, somehow they managed in a dharmshala where the cold was severe. So early morning they left for Papanashini, had bath, then came back. So the not going or going is not affected at all. Because he was seeing Ram everywhere. Going is also all right for darshan. Not going also for darshan is all right for him. That because he was seeing the God element in anything and everything. And then
Swamiji,
ah,
in Papa wanted to take bath in Papanasini. The general belief is that the person who takes bath in the waterfall will be washed off all his sins. He had relief in the.
No, that is called Papanashini, no? Papanashini means, so that is there, that's all. So he said, okay, we will have. He said, Ramdas suggested that they might go farther, 3 miles, and visit the waterfall called Papanashini. The general belief is that a person who takes bath in the waterfall will be washed off all his or her sins, hence the name, that's all. But it is itself named as Papanashini. So that's all. Unless and until we clean ourselves, when we go to, people used to say when we have a dip in Ganga, all our sins will be washed away. In the sense, with that attitude, with that resolve, with that firmness, with surrendering totally to Mother Ganga, then that is right. But our taking a dip, it doesn't make any difference. The same mindset is there even after coming out of the Ganga. Then when they moved to Kalahasti, there, as somebody said, God is everywhere, but he wants to have this fact actually proved by going to all places and realizing his presence everywhere. One thing we forgot to mention. Before he started, he has reached the goal. Before he started this yatra, he has reached the goal. What is that goal? Seeing him everywhere. Submitting everything to his will and seeing him in anything and everything. That he has, because he, in one of his quotations, he makes this very, very clear. In one of the letters, he said, Ramdas, through a ceaseless repetition of the divine mantra, side by side with the concentrated meditation on the all-pervading, eternal, ever-blissful, indwelling God, had attained freedom and peace even before his advent into the world as a mendicant. That we should bear in mind that. So his sadhana before is 1922. His sadhana before 1922.
Swamiji,
Ah.
I have a doubt. Because he had already attained peace and freedom, is that why he could go through the entire sojourn all without any fear, without any anxiety?
No, he says here, God is everywhere, but he wants to have this fact actually proved by going to all places and realizing his presence everywhere. He is very, very clear about it. To get it stamped. He has already reached the goal. But God wanted him to take up this trip for the sake of all of us.
Swamiji, he was, because he had already reached the goal, before he started, he was quite unperturbed with all the ups and downs.
That's right. That is why he has reached the goal. That we should think about it more and more. That means his sadhana from 1920 to 22 was intense. 22 hours, chanting out of 24 hours. Can we imagine? And leading, and even the barest minimum was reduced. He was mad of Ram. So in two or 3 years, from 1922 to 22 December, you can say, in this 20, 21, 22, okay, 3 years, his intense sadhana had enabled him to reach the goal by the grace of God, no doubt. Exclusive, these 3 years. This aspect we should not forget. We are trying to follow him straight away. No. We have yet to prepare our equipment. So the rest of the things we find, it is either for us or for posterity, And in the Vyavaharic sense, we can say Papa wanted this actually to be authenticated. Because in a place, when he was in Mangalore, the revelation has come to him. But he wanted that actually proved, placing himself totally at the feet of Ram, not banging upon anything excepting Ram, and how the revelations stay with him. Or is there any way, vacillation? We can interpret it like that. Papa has not mentioned like that. But this Papa has mentioned, clearly mentioned. Ramdas, through a ceaseless repetition of the divine mantra, side by side with the concentrated meditation on the all-pervading, eternal, ever blissful, indwelling God, had attained freedom and peace even before his advent into the world as a mendicant. That was 1922, December 27th. So we should know that he had reached the goal. That is why he was able to have a passive, positive attitude towards anything and everything. There was no wavering. It was firm. And then anything else in that chapter? When the ticket inspector wanted to have a specific answer, not general, specific. It is really a test. Where? He asked. Immediately he said, here, touching his chest. That means there also he is very clear about it. Immediately the attitude of the ticket inspector changed. He asked him to go forward. The next is the kind policeman. There also elaborately we dealt with. Papa was neither in favor of going in nor for not going in. He was neutral. When the inspector, when the ticket examiner and the station master were very particular that they should not travel, there also he was peaceful. When the policeman came and asked them to get in, then also okay. So in a way we can say he was seeing the play of Ram.
Swamiji, in many incidences, Papa changes the attitude of the person in front of him, like the two boys in the train, or the ticket clerk who asked where is God. So immediate change comes over these people. He brings about a change, an attitudinal change has been brought about by Papa's remarks.
Yeah. That's also a message for all of us. Instead of getting annoyed, if we raise ourselves from a little higher level and then you can see the attitude of others getting changed.
Or the ticket clerk who was pulling the data of everybody.
Yeah.
That time also, Papa gave a loving smile.
Correct. Yes, then Jagan, kind policeman, anything else?
Papa's response, there was no thinking. It was spontaneous.
No thinking, you are right. No thinking. Everything was spontaneous. That means the intellect ceased to function, When the intellect is active, rights and wrongs, likes and dislikes, so many things will come and guide us. But here we find it is totally not there. He was relying on Ram and Ram alone. Everything was spontaneous. Then came Jagannath Puri. Here the message we thought, what could be the message? Not, there is idol worship, temple worship, rituals, pujas, all have their own place in spiritual journey. Though the Lord is impersonal, the Lord is a mysterious force, still for the sake of devotees like us who are unable to concentrate our mind on the impersonal aspect of the Lord, He also brings out so many Ishtadevatas so that the devotees can first offer their everything and develop bhakti for the Ishtadevata, which will ultimately help them in seeing the same principle in everybody. So by Jagannath Puri, though he in Tirupati, though he did not stay there to have the darshan, here he expressed also the darshan, desire to have the darshan. Then that was fulfilled, and so by that he is telling us. And Jagannath Puri, you must be knowing, there are so many uniqueness. Every day there are about 45 or 50, more than 50 items are to be offered, prasad. And always it will be full. Though nowadays we find it difficult to go along with certain conventions there, like, not allowing foreigners. Even today they are very strict about it. We don't know the reason. Somebody must have done something, we don't know. Because people who don't have that faith, they would have done something. And with the result, there is a total ban for foreigners. So when we went there, morning when we went there with the foreigner Swami, bluntly he was asked to go away. So we all returned. And in the evening again somebody came and said, you have come all the way, why don't you have darshan? Then we went there and we were taken to the sanctum sanctorum and then taken round. Then only we knew that there are about a big nakshatra, or what do you call it, the kitchen, langar. There they have 45 to 50 ovens, and every day this is prepared and distributed. Every day it has to be prepared, meticulously. So something about idol worship, something about puja, something about darshan, something about rituals, all these things have been touched in this chapter. And there we stopped, and so 14 chapters we covered. Again and again we have to go through it because we may forget again. There may be many points which would help us in our sadhana. This is what we want. During the course of this year, when we go through In Quest of God as many times as possible, the idea is that we will try to assimilate as much values from it and try in our own way, not in the way in which Papa has done or Papa has been subjected to, but in our own way. God will definitely help us to put it into practice, provided there is an intense yearning for it. So that is the message he gives. Let us all try, let us all pray. We will take up 15th chapter tomorrow. Hari Om. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Om